When I first saw the landscapes and had a chance to travel around Kakadu and see the wetlands, I understood for the first time the term God's own country. Over 300,000 tourists visit Kakadu every year, and for them it's a holiday destination or somewhere to come and look at Aboriginal art or to look at natural beauty. But for us, it's a place where we live, it's a place where our children are born, and it's a place where we bury our people as well. It's a place where our entire life cycle takes place. It doesn't matter where you're living, it doesn't matter how far you're living from your country. If you know the place that you come from, that is really what defines you in terms of identity. And coming out here has really consolidated a lot of that. Ultimately, it's your attachment to your family and your country which cements your place in the world. So it's given me the opportunity to become whole, in a sense. My name's Jacqui Katona, and I've come home to work with my family, who are leading the campaign to prevent the mining of uranium at Jabiluka. We're joined by prominent Australians, students, ordinary Australians, who want to see this mine stopped. It's been an honour working with my family because the issues that the Mirrar are working through are fundamental to the future of this community.
This is fantastic. Thank you. We will not tolerate the actions of police in trying to intimidate people from protecting the future of this country. The future of this country rests with us.
We further oppose the notion that we can set aside millions and millions of tonnes of radioactive waste for time immemorial. Long past the point when any of us will be here, this radioactive waste will still be here, and we have a right to protest. That goes to the heart and to the core of a democracy.
My mother's country is to the south of Jabiru, and her mother's country adjoins that. My mother was removed, we think, about the age of 12 from her family. She was removed by a welfare officer to Darwin, and there she was put in the Retta Dixon home, which was run by the Aborigines Inland Mission.
The effects of me being taken away from my parents and my family and relatives and friends was just devastating, absolutely devastating.
That's the reason why for many years we thought we had no family. It's the reason why for many years we struggled as individuals to work out where our place was in society.
I chose to be trained as a stenographer, and I ended up at the taxation department, and through mutual friends I met Jacqueline's father, and we got married in Canberra and went to live in the Snowy Mountains where he worked as a hydrographer. And 12 months later, Jacqueline was our firstborn.
My father was a new Australian, a refugee from Hungary. Grew up in the Snowy Mountains and skied to school and did all the things that the kids did in the town. Mum was always ambitious for us. She was ambitious that we enter a professional career. She was ambitious that we become as best educated as possible and in the best type of schools, and she was prepared to make lots of sacrifices for those things. She was very conscious of the way we looked and of the way we spoke and of the way we behaved, and they were issues of great debate in the house, let me tell you. There is an indoctrination that people received when they were institutionalised, and that was that to be black was to be bad or to be associated with the devil, and to be white was to be good or to be associated with God. As an 18-year-old, I took the chance to come up to Darwin and to see if I could be reunited with my grandmother particularly.
When she visited her grandmother, the impact of where she was living and what had happened to her over time had a tremendous impact on her.
The conditions that people were living in were just appalling. They were everything that I'd seen on television up until then. Corrugated iron sheds with no floors, only dirt floors, fires out the front, people suffering from trachoma. But this was my family. This wasn't just something that was appearing on a television screen, and I felt just useless. I felt very inadequate, and I thought the best thing to do would be to go back down south, gain as many skills as I could and come home with the objective of trying to improve the living standards in my community.
Jacqui, our family. And that's why we got Jacqui work with us.
Yvonne is a clan leader. She's the senior traditional owner of the Mirrar people.
Oh, Jacqui is good speaking to for Mirrar land, you know, talking to company. But she's not frightened.
Yvonne is a woman of great integrity, great dignity and absolute strength. And she's been an absolute power for me to work with. I was working full-time in Darwin on the stolen generations issues when it was recommended that I be employed by Goldman Aboriginal Corporation, and Yvonne and the family had asked me to take those responsibilities on board.
She was described as crisp, articulate, earthy and well organised, and a woman who could one day be Prime Minister, and I reckon that basically sums Jacqui up, and I don't think anyone would argue with that description.
I don't know whether to say good morning or what.
She's got a really clear understanding of Aboriginal culture. This is her family she's fighting for, but she's also had the direct experience to work in a white man culture as well, so she does straddle those two cultures.
An adequate understanding out there at the moment of
The Jabiluka mine endangers the lives of Aboriginal people, the lives of the Mirrar, at a very fundamental level. For 20 years now, Aboriginal people have had a uranium mine operating on their land. Aboriginal people were prevented from saying no to Ranger. That right was extinguished.
With the Mirrar people on their land. Hey! 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 If you fail to go back, you'll be arrested. Back or you'll be the first.
And when it came to negotiating about Jabiluka, people were told virtually that they had no choice but to accept that uranium mining was here to stay and that uranium mining could be expanded throughout Kakadu.
Hey! Hey!
Oh, undoubtedly they've been a nuisance, there's no doubt about that. But the work has started and it's well underway now. There've probably been a few delays, I guess you'd have to say.
A group of people came in the front gate and some people came up the back. So there's people still inside, we think, that are locked on. There have been a lot of barriers to Yvonne understanding these issues. Yvonne doesn't read and write, as do most of the Mirrar. They don't read and write either. So we've been talking Thinking of ideas about how Mirrar can have a say on that lease? Working with the protesters, backing up?
Jacqui Katona came to town, and thereafter it wasn't possible for ERA to meet directly on a one-on-one basis with Yvonne. And once it becomes polarised, people take sides, and then they plan tactics. And the tactics of Jacqui Katona and the Greens was no doubt to prevent any dialogue between ERA and the traditional owner.
I think ERA has been happy to deal with a person who they perceive to be powerless, who is largely reliant on them for lots of information. And when somebody comes on the scene who challenges their information or challenges the methods by which they deal with Aboriginal people, I don't think that's something that they find acceptable.
I would disagree with many of the things that Jacqui says about the company's activities. Strongly disagree with that. But I'd have to concede that she's a talented and passionate advocate for a cause.
If you're an Aboriginal person, you are political. That is the nature of our place in Australian society. Activism is really the only option for us because the system is not going to automatically deliver a result that benefits our community.
In the early 90s, I worked on two of the biggest issues in Aboriginal affairs. One was the Royal Commission into Aboriginal Deaths in Custody, and the other, the Stolen Generations issues. What it did was open my eyes to the inequalities that our people face under the system.
I settled down with my partner, Mickey Foster, in about 1990, down at Daly River. Marjorie was born in 1991, and Michael was born in town in Darwin in 1993. In effect, we were living in a house with a tin roof at the time with no power and no vehicle. So the conditions were very hard, and starting a young family was also a bit of a problem in those conditions. Living out bush on an outstation gives you the opportunity to really crystallise what's important and what isn't. And that was one thing that I got out of living out bush. Mickey and I have separated now for about 3 years. No, there is no love life now. There's priorities that have to be taken care of in the campaign. And a relationship takes time and effort, and I'd like to do a relationship justice.
Probably Jacqui's greatest sacrifice is, of course, as a mother, time with her children. They're young, only little yet, and a lot of demands are made for her to travel, meetings, and not spending time with those children.
Okay, hold Mum's hand. We were just off to the supermarket because I've been promising Michael for some time to get him some toys. Now walk in the other side. Their dad has actually come to town to look after them for the times while I'm away and the times when the pressure is really on. That's too sharp and it can hurt your eye. It's only for big kids. Not even Enoch can have it. Hey, Enoch.
Yep.
No, you've got to say no.
No.
It's been something that has been a concern to me, not to be spending a lot of time with the children. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got your ice cream, but as the campaign has stepped up and as the responsibilities have become greater, it's been a source of a lot of disappointment to me that I can't spend that time with the children. Thank you. You too. See ya. Come on, honey.
Hey, Bob.
Well, the protest camp's been running since the 23rd of March this year. It's been built very gradually, very deliberately, and we expect that it's going to last for some time.
Fantastic.
All right. The campaign gets up to what we call warp speed. There are literally hundreds of requests that come into the office every day. So how's things been? It's almost like a maelstrom. Sometimes it's like standing in the middle of a hurricane, but it's a hurricane that is inevitably going to keep going until this development is stopped. I'm just trying to get a sense of how the camp's been going because I've missed it. There's been a heap of people who have come here and I'm wanting to get a feel of camp.
As a mother, I do worry about her and the toll that it's going to take. She's against the might of the government and the mining company, so I'm extremely concerned not only for Jacqueline, but for those people who worked with her and who worked with her tirelessly, and for my family.
Having a uranium mine in the Mirrar's backyard hasn't led to any great benefits.
It brought along social changes which made them more depressed, which dispossessed them even more from their own land. And it's left them with a legacy of bad health, no houses, no infrastructure, and no employment. And it's brought them not economic independence, but ecocide.
We had a discussion about this with people. What if we don't win the court case, or what if we aren't able to influence the government? And a senior man stopped the discussion and he said, look, win or lose, it doesn't matter. What is important is that we fight for our beliefs, we fight for the things that are important to us.
I don't believe they have any hope of stopping it. That's my honest opinion, because we've got all the approvals in place bar one, and we're hoping that the government will make a decision on that in the very near future.
If Jabiluka goes ahead, you'll see a step up in the expansion of uranium mining in Kakadu. The next uranium mine proposed in Kakadu is at Kungara, which is actually on my grandmother's country. It's just behind the rock, which we're sitting in front of.
Dear Mr. Howard and dear Prime Minister, developments in Kakadu are getting too sinister.
This campaign is not doomed at all. This campaign is now picking up beyond our wildest dreams. We've seen very strong, constructive international support to the campaign, and we fully expect Jabiluka to become an issue in the upcoming election. You do feel a physical pain about what's happening to this country. It hits you right in the heart and deeper. We are connected to places as we are connected to people. And as you see country destroyed, it's like watching a friend being very badly hurt. And of course, your first instinct is to move to protect someone who you're so close to. The fact is that being isolated and away from your family is a very painful, lonely existence. And experiencing support from your family has given me a lot of confidence, and it's given me the ability to take up the issues that need to be taken up and fight hard.